Today we're going to be looking at 10 trendy running backs from week 3. We're going to look at the production, we're going to look at the workload, and we're going to look at whether or not we need to trade or pick them up off waivers going forward. But before we do this, you need to click that subscribe button right now. Just give it a tap with the finger on your phone, click with the mouse, because we're doing deep dives on these lesser known players all year long, along with helping you set your lineups, helping you win trades, and everything else to help you win that league. So let's dig in. Let's look at the 10 players from yesterday. And we're using the next-gen stats charts from NFL.com, really, to evaluate some of these players today. And the first thing we want to look at here is Raheem Mostert, because he had a day. I think he's still scoring touchdowns. And the big thing to note about this Dolphins offense is that it's fire. That they are really producing points off the whim. They're just throwing it around. They're moving the football. They want to push the pace. Any game that they're in, they're wanting to push the pace. That means anybody who's seeing snaps, running routes, getting touches, has the chance to do this, because this offense moves the football and they find a weakness in the defense. They're just going to spam it and spam it and spam it because it's working. Why not? And that's what we're seeing here with these running backs. We're seeing this with Tyreek Hill because he's a dog, and Mostert is now named must start. Raheem must start, because you know what? He's going to get you touches. He's going to get you opportunity, and he has a chance for a blow-off top game because this offense is doing it. As long as he's healthy on the field, you got to start him really going forward, and he's going to have down games because that's natural for every single player in this league. The thing about this, though, this offense is fire. This offense is fire. Had 82 yards and 3 touchdowns, also caught some balls. Very, very, very explosive game by Raheem Mostert. Next player we want to look at is Devin Acker. Everybody's running to the waiver wire for him, but you should have drafted him and held him. This is why we draft these young rookies and hold them as stashes, as lottery tickets. If you look at the worst player on every single roster you have, you're going to wish you had a lottery ticket, because that player's really not doing anything. They might be scoring some points here and there. You don't know when to start them, or it's just ho-hum production that's not helping you win games. And you never know which one of these rookies are going to do this and when this is going to happen. We gave you the advanced analytics, what could happen with Devin Acker, the upside. There are people talking about wanting to drop him week 1, week 2, saying, hey, I'm 0-2. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. You got to be patient with these rookies. You don't know when they're going to go off. You don't know when it's going to happen. It could be next year, the year after, could be a quarterback change, coaching change. You never know. But the players who tend to go off are usually in year 1 and year 2, the breakout players. And this might be an indication that he's breaking out for the rest of the year. He's got elite speed. We called him Discount Jahmyr Gibbs because he can be used in the passing game, and he's explosive. And we saw that. We saw that. And everybody knows about it. Everybody's trying to get him off waivers. Should have been on your roster. Should have been drafted. Should have been stashed. You need to have some rookie running backs stashed as a cheap get to see what happens. It might start off slow, because it should start off slow for them. But as we get throughout the year, process-wise, some of these running backs are going to hit. Some of them are not going to hit, and that's part of the game too. That's why it's called a lottery ticket. If you bought a lottery ticket and hit every time, you're more than lucky. You're more than lucky. You're more than average. Devin Acker hit yesterday. He did more than hit. He went off. He went nuclear. He's going to be using this offense going forward. They drafted him high, and they have ways they want to implement him because he's got elite speed. They want to track meet out there. That is what they're telling you. Waddle's fast. Tyreek has elite speed. Etienne's got elite speed, or A-Chain, whatever you want to call him. Elite speed. Speed, speed, speed. They want to push the pace. That's what they're telling you. And speaking about rookies and holding on to them, Kendra Miller. Again, the performance, not surprised. Not surprised at all, because that was part of the game here. The part of the game here is him coming back, getting touches, and the part of holding him on your team, same with A-Chain. The same with Tank Bigsby. The same with any other rookie running back you're looking at here, depending on how deep your rosters are, depending on if you're in a 12-team league, 14-team league, 16-team league, is you want these rookies to see if they go off throughout the season. He's got draft capital behind him. He's got speed. He's got burst. We're only 3 games into this season. This was his first ever NFL game. This was a rough matchup to begin with on the road, so you were not projecting to start him anyways. He was ranked in the 30s, 40s, and rankings all over the place on the internet, and that's where he should have been ranked. And 34 yards, really in the realm of possibilities, what we were expecting. We were expecting the Saints to throw the ball more anyways, and they had a quarterback issue here. Jameis Winston had to come back in. A lot of funky stuff, but still, long-term lottery ticket. Long-term lottery ticket. You look at Kamara, you look at Jamal Williams, and those are usually the barriers in front of these lottery tickets every single time. And attrition at the running back position, which means injuries, happen. We've seen it so much throughout the season, and usually every year something like that happens. That rookie gets their opportunity, and maybe they hit, maybe they don't, but you want that lottery ticket. You want that upside play. You never know when it's going to happen. It could be the last few games of the season, could be at the end of the season, could be next year. But just about everybody has a spot on the roster to stash somebody and hold somebody. And you may catch yourself in bye weeks where you're playing hot potato with some of these players, but that's part of the game. You get that back end part of your roster to play for the long term. Next, Jerome Ford had a good game here, fantasy production-wise. And like we said, we were expecting this team to increase the passing volume. We were expecting them to throw it a little bit more, especially in this matchup, because the Titans are tough against the run. So they're going to create a little bit of a pass funnel, which they did. I expect the Browns to continue to throw it a little bit more. I think that was their plan B going into the season, because they did not bring in any other running backs in the offseason. And if you paid that much for Deshaun Watson, you bring in Elijah Moore, maybe like, hey, I got these players here. I paid up for this. I made these deals. Let's lean into the passing game a little bit more. If something happens to our workhorse, we have Jerome Ford here. We have some cheap contracts here on the back end. We bring in Kareem Hunt if we need it, like we just did. But we're going to lean on the passing game. And maybe if the game script depicts it, we'll lean more on the run. And that's probably what we're going to see. And I'm not saying we're going to air it out. I'm going to say that they're going to probably increase it like 5% or so, something like that. Jerome Ford was using the passing game. We saw him lined up in the slot some as well. He was wheeled out there for that touchdown. And he's going to be on the field seeing snaps. He's going to be the top dog unless he fumbles it away or something. Kareem Hunt's going to get his opportunity, because you should have a committee, as every NFL team tries to have a committee established with running backs so they don't wear down their top guy. And it's just more effective for them in the NFL unless you got a workhorse like a Nick Chubb. 27-3, nasty game like we said. Jerome Ford still came out on top, and he's getting workload. Next, Travis Etienne. The Jaguars lost. I really missed on this game script. I was expecting the Texans to be behind, airing it out, scoring a lot of fantasy points. Instead, they won the game and then scored a lot of fantasy points. The thing about Travis Etienne here is game scripts does not matter with him. If the Jaguars behind, he's going to be using the passing game. He's so explosive, you can still run it with him, because if he sees the hole on the outside and gets it and sees daylight, has the opportunity to pop one loose, get you a big gain, be very effective there. I like Travis Etienne, and he is productive. I've read a note about this saying he was inefficient, and it might have been play-to-play wise, but still, from a volume standpoint, workload standpoint, in the passing game, outside run game, and everything else, when you're behind and you got a running back like this, really helps you in the short game department, especially if they can pop it off for a lot more than expected. Travis Etienne, very good getting drafts, still very expensive in trade, but still a player you want to keep an eye on. James Cook, I wish I was louder about him. I talked about him, but I wasn't loud. I never really said anything negative. I liked the Bills' offense, and I knew it was going to create fireworks. I wish I was louder about him, because he's really exceeding expectations. I really wished I talked him up more. I never said anything really bad about him throughout the offseason process, because I do like the explosiveness of the Bills' offense. I just really wish I was louder about it, because he has been very effective. He's been seeing a lot of workload. 15 carries is a lot for a running back in 2023. Running backs don't get that much workload these days. He's also being used in the passing game. The Bills were up. The Commanders throwing picks left and right. Turnover city with them. It was a nasty game. Bills was able to do what they wanted to, push the pace, score points, really get a lot of points on the scoreboard. Every team wants to do that, but some teams can do it at will. and do it the way they want to do it. The Bills can do that, and they showed that against the Commanders. It was a nasty game, and they came out on top. James Cook is a guy that you might be able to catch a little cheaper than some of the other top running backs, and he's getting top running back volume right now, getting used in the passing game, getting very efficient runs out of him as well. A good running back to get in fantasy. He's really exceeding expectations. Next is Ezekiel Elliott. Really, we want to point out he's very game script dependent, but if the Patriots are going to be up in a game, they're going to run the ball. They want to run the ball. They showed that to us yesterday. They want to run the ball. They got 40 carries yesterday, 40 rushing attempts. And in today's NFL, that's a rarity. Ezekiel Elliott had 16 carries in this game, and he's the RB2. He's the backup. He's the 1B, whatever you want to call it, but he had 16 carries. If the Patriots are up, if they're projected to be a heavy favorite, you may want to look at Elliott if you're in a pinch because he might cross that goal line. With him seeing this many snaps and this many opportunities, he should have some touchdowns to his name by the end of the season. Shouldn't be double digits, but it should be something, which means he should have some decent fantasy performances. Nonetheless, this could help you out. He could have some decent scoring weeks. He's not a guy that you need to rush out and get or rush out and keep or have locked down, but you do need to realize potential game scripts here in the near future. Next, Matt Breida. Again, we don't love him. We don't like him. But you have to do what you got to do in some of your fantasy performances and your matchups here when you're setting lineups. And he's getting touches. He's getting snaps. He's getting opportunity. And that's enough for you to start him if you're hurting, if you're in a bind, if you need a running back, if you need a flex. Some of you guys are hurting, and some of you guys need that. Matt Breida could be a little gateway for you. It could be that patch-up job to get you through a couple weeks because he's getting snaps and opportunity. For most of you guys, you don't need him. You don't want him. You don't want a running back who's going to be up and down in this offense. They could start sharing more touches here in the future. Saquon Barkley's coming back eventually. Think about Matt Breida, though. He's getting touches. When you're chasing touches, and that's what you got to do. And you got to play the matchups, and some of you guys got to do that. Some of you guys don't. But we're seeing a running back here is getting opportunity, getting some chances, and you just got to hope he falls over the goal line. Next, Joshua Kelly. A lot of people are out on him, and I understand that. He had a golden opportunity here against the Vikings, and a decent workload. 11 carries, probably could have been more if he was more efficient, and he was getting it done. Last week against the Titans, it was very excusable. We saw that against the Browns. We saw it the week prior. Nobody's running on the Titans. No one's doing that. So really going forward, we did not have any data to go off of on Joshua Kelly outside of week 1 where he went off. Getting opportunity, looking a little bit explosive, and in an explosive offense should funnel just about anybody getting touches and snaps in the offense. It's not funneling Kelly. However, if Eckler's going to remain out and we're in plus game scripts, there might be some games where he pops off. There might be some games where he gets touches. Also in this game script, Keenan Allen was winning and eating left and right. Mike Williams was winning and eating left and right, and you just spammed it. Spammed it with targets, and that's what you need to do is attack where you were winning, and the run game was getting blown up, so there might be a game script here where Kelly gets you something. Maybe he gets dropped, maybe you want to pick him up. On the flip side to that, though, I say you're not going to know when to start him. You're not going to be feeling good about that, and I know there's going to be opportunities where he does something, and I know there's going to be game scripts where that happens. But when you have them there sitting on the back end of your depth chart, you're like, I don't think I can do this now. I saw the last couple weeks. I don't think I can do it. And you know what? You're just going to have to play the matchup, see what happens. You can drop him for the flavor of the week because you know what? He hasn't been the flavor that we wanted to taste anyways. However, if you're hurting, you need touches, and you need to roll with it. And that's a different strategy than trying to pick a guy who's going to be explosive. Damien Pierce has been slow this season, but it's part of the nature of the offense and the nature of how he plays the game. He's not a pass-catch-heavy running back. He's not a satellite back. And with the game scripts the Texans have been in, they like to throw the ball all over the yard. Even when they're up, they're throwing it all over the yard. We're expecting this team to be a little bit more run-focused, a little bit more slower, trying to get C.J. Stroud acclimated. Well, we were right. They were trying to get C.J. Stroud acclimated, but in a different way. They're letting him play. They're letting him throw it downfield. They're letting him chuck it deep to the receivers here. They're getting production left and right. They're spamming it to the receivers, which is a great thing for C.J. Stroud. great thing for Tank Dell here and Damien Pierce here. Not getting as much volume in the run game. Getting some work in the passing game in this one, but not all the time. Not hitting as much in fantasy. Not getting as much rushing production. He's like any of those other running backs, though, who are getting touches. And if you need touches, you got to chase the touches and hope for the best. Hope for that touchdown that you saw there. Hoping that he crosses the goal line. And that is what he is. But that's the nature of the beast of this offense. He might blow up in a couple games. I would not be surprised because this team's moving the football. They're scoring points one way or another, whether they're behind or up. They're scoring points. They're moving the football. That could create opportunities for Pierce. He might have some blow-up games. Might want to look at that in DFS in some weeks as a trendy play in huge tournaments when you're setting tons of lineups. But the thing about this, though, he's not getting workload. He's not getting opportunities. And his offense is a lot different than predicted, which is a good thing for the players involved here. I love watching the passing game. I love watching this team. Damien Pierce, though, it's trending like they're not using him as much in the run game because they don't need to. They can throw it. They can get away with that. But those are 10 trends from Week 3's games that we were looking at the running back position. Some of these guys you're running to pick up. You're running to trade. Some of them you might be even dropping or picking up on the cheap later if they bounce back because we're only 3 weeks into the season, only a few games down. We have a lot of games to go. It's a small sample game that just rolls over week to week to week, and things change like that. We got some more news, information, nuggets that we're going to cover here today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, stop missing out, and I'll catch you on the next video.